Welcome to our deep dive all about those massive shifts that have reshaped our world. The Industrial Revolution.
Latest stuff.
Exactly. And today we're going to explore the innovations behind them, these things called general purpose technologies or GPTs. They've really pushed humanity forward. It's crazy to think, for most of human history, progress was so slow.
Yeah, a total crawl.
Then, bam, things suddenly changed rapidly. What caused these huge leaps forward? And maybe even more importantly, what's the next big wave coming? How might it affect all of us?
That's the fascinating thing about these GPTs. They have this huge ripple effect. They don't just improve things a little, they totally change everything.
Right.
Driving down costs and then sparking a ton of new inventions, new ideas. Think of them as the keystone in an arch, holding everything else up, allowing for even more progress.
Okay, so I'm starting to see how these GPTs are the real game changers, the forces behind all the progress. Can you walk me through some examples? Where can we see these GPTs in action historically?
Well, let's go back to the very beginning.
Hmm.
The domestication of plants and animals.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Without that, civilization as we know it wouldn't exist.
Sure.
We'd still be hunter-gatherers, constantly on the move.
That's a great point. It's so easy to take something like agriculture for granted, but it really did lay the foundation for everything that came after. What else comes to mind?
Let's fast forward a few thousand years, and we get to the three-masted sailing ship.
Okay.
This thing unlocked global exploration and trade on a scale never seen before. The world suddenly became a lot smaller, all interconnected by these ships.
Right. And then how can we forget the printing press? Like the original information revolution. Right?
Exactly.
Knowledge wasn't locked up in monasteries and elite circles anymore. It could spread like crazy,
Yes.
empowering people and challenging the status quo.
It really democratized knowledge, a truly revolutionary invention. And it's the perfect example of how one single GPT can cause this domino effect, impacting every part of society.
So we've seen how powerful these individual GPTs can be. But what about these periods we call industrial revolutions? How do they fit into all this?
Think of industrial revolutions like clusters of GPTs all coming together,
Oh, okay.
creating this perfect storm of innovation. It completely transforms how we live, how we work, how we interact with the world. Take the first industrial revolution, for example.
Yeah.
All about mechanization. You had the steam engine, along with new machine tools, revolutionizing production, especially in textiles.
And this is where that crazy statistic comes in, right? The one about a single textile worker in Britain becoming 500 times more productive.
Exactly, 500 times more productive than their counterparts in China and India.
That's wild.
It wasn't just about the machines themselves, though. It was this whole system of production that grew up around them.
Right.
Factories, division of labor, new ways of organizing work, and the effects, they were huge. This massive boost in productivity led to economic growth, urbanization, ultimately to Britain becoming a global superpower.
So it wasn't just about making more cloth, it was about changing the entire world order. And then came the second industrial revolution, right?
Yes, and this one was powered by electricity, railroads, and mass production.
Okay.
The U.S. really rose to prominence during this period, taking the lead in these new technologies and becoming this dominant force in the world.
I see.
Think about the impact of the assembly line, made mass production possible, cheaper goods, and this consumer society that we're still in today.
So each revolution builds on the one before it, making the pace of change even faster. And then, of course, we have the third industrial revolution, the digital revolution. Right. Computers, software, automation, further accelerating progress. The USSR, and Japan were leading the charge, pushing the boundaries of what was possible with these new technologies. Think about how computers have transformed everything, how we communicate, how we research, how we entertain ourselves.
It's amazing how much has changed in just a few centuries. And now everyone's talking about the fourth industrial revolution. What makes this one different? Well, the term itself was coined by Klaus Schwab, and it captures this incredible merging of the physical world, the digital world, and the biological world. It's not just about individual technologies.
Okay.
It's about the lines between them blurring.
So instead of separate advancements in, say, artificial intelligence or biotechnology, we're seeing them all blend together in ways we couldn't have imagined.
Exactly. Take AI, for instance. In the past, we might have thought of AI as something separate from us, just a tool.
Yeah.
But now, AI is integrated into our daily lives and in more complex ways all the time. Think about personalized education powered by AI. Every student gets a learning experience tailored just for them.
That's amazing. And a little bit scary. It really feels like science fiction is becoming reality. And it's not just AI, right? We're seeing this convergence
Also,
everywhere.
robotics, biotech, nanotechnology, they're all becoming intertwined, creating this web of interconnected advancements transforming everything.
It sounds exciting, but also a little terrifying. Like, what happens when every company becomes a tech company?
Right.
Or when AI can do things we thought were uniquely human?
These are some of the big questions we're facing right now. The fourth industrial revolution could redefine what it means to be human, challenge our values, and reshape society.
It's a lot to take in. But before we dive deeper into the fourth industrial revolution, let's step back and look at the big picture.
Yes, let's see what history can teach us about these powerful GPTs and the nature of these industrial revolutions, because understanding the past is key to navigating the future.
So we've talked about the evolution of GPTs from early agriculture to the digital age. And now we're on the edge of this fourth industrial revolution. You mentioned it's not just about individual technologies, but how they all come together. So where are we seeing that convergence happening, and how will it affect us?
Well, one area where we're seeing incredible progress is biotechnology.
Okay.
I'm talking personalized medicine, tailored to your genes, gene editing therapies that might actually cure diseases, regenerative medicine that could repair tissues and organs.
That's amazing. But doesn't it raise some, ethical questions? Who gets access to these technologies? What does it mean for genetic engineering? Human enhancement? It's both exciting and a little, well, daunting.
You're right. It's a really important point. With any powerful technology, there are ethical considerations. We need to have serious discussions about how these things are developed and used, making sure they benefit everyone.
Right, of course. So biotechnology is one piece of the puzzle. What else is driving this fourth industrial revolution?
Robotics is another area where we see these rapid advances.
Okay.
And it's not just about robots in factories anymore. We're talking about robots working with humans in hospitals, assisting with surgery, even helping us at home with everyday stuff.
I find it fascinating, but also a bit unsettling. To think we could be living with robots as part of our daily lives. What happens to human connection, to the value of human labor when robots can do so much?
Those are questions we definitely need to grapple with. The fourth industrial revolution isn't just technological change, it's societal change too. We need to figure out how to adapt to these new realities, make sure everyone benefits, and figure out how to maintain our humanity in a world that's increasingly intertwined with technology.
Yeah, that's important. So biotech and robotics are two major players. What other areas are seeing this kind of convergence?
Well, you can't talk about the fourth industrial revolution without AI, right?
Right.
Artificial intelligence. It's the driving force behind so many of these advances. We're already seeing AI used in everything, from self-driving cars to personalized medicine to financial trading.
It's like AI is the brain behind the whole operation.
Mm-hmm.
But, there's this talk about AI becoming a threat, taking jobs, maybe even becoming smarter than humans. Are those fears justified?
Well, it's important to remember AI is a tool. And like any tool, it can be used for good or bad. The key is to develop AI responsibly, ethically. We need to ensure it aligns with human values and enhances our lives, not diminishes them.
So it's not about AI versus humans. It's about humans and AI working together to everyone's benefit.
Exactly. That requires us to think about the future we want. We need to talk about the role of AI in society, the skills people will need to thrive, the ethical boundaries we need to set.
That's a lot to think about. Any other key players in this revolution we should be aware of?
One more I'd highlight is energy storage. With the rise of renewables like solar and wind power, we need effective ways to store that energy so we can use it when the sun isn't shining or the wind isn't blowing. Advances in batteries and other storage are critical for a sustainable energy future.
That makes sense. We can't rely on the sun and wind to be there whenever we need them. Sounds like a huge shift in how we produce and use energy. What about blockchain? I keep hearing about it, but I'm still not sure I get it. Where does that fit in?
Blockchain is all about decentralization and trust.
Okay.
It has the potential to transform everything from finance to supply chains, even voting and digital ID. Imagine a world where transactions are secure, transparent, accessible to all without needing intermediaries.
So instead of relying on banks or governments to manage our money and identities, we could have a system that's more secure and democratic.
Right. And because blockchain transactions are recorded on this permanent ledger, it's almost impossible to mess with the data. Huge implications for security and transparency across all kinds of industries.
It's a lot to wrap my head around, but it sounds like blockchain could be a game changer. So we have biotech, robotics, AI, energy storage, and blockchain all converging and changing our world. It's both exciting and overwhelming.
It is. And remember, we're still in the early stages of this fourth industrial revolution. What we see now is just the tip of the iceberg. The next decade will probably bring even bigger changes and innovations we can't even fathom yet.
It's like we're on the edge of a vast, uncharted territory. A bit scary, but also exciting to think about the possibilities. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's go back to something you mentioned, the potential downsides of these technologies. You said the fourth industrial revolution isn't just technological change, it's societal too. What challenges should we be ready for?
Well, one of the big worries is job displacement. As automation and AI get more sophisticated, they'll be able to do a lot of tasks that humans do now. This could mean significant job losses, especially in manufacturing, transportation, customer service.
So how do we get ready for a future where robots are taking over jobs? It seems like a recipe for social unrest and inequality.
It's a valid concern. We need to address it head on. We need to think about retraining workers for the jobs of the future, jobs that need creativity, critical thinking, problem solving, skills that are harder to automate, and consider things like universal basic income to ensure everyone has a basic standard of living, even if their jobs are displaced.
So it's not just about new technologies, it's about new economic and social models that can adapt to this rapidly changing world.
Exactly. And it's not just jobs. We need to think about how these technologies might affect privacy, security, even democracy itself. As AI becomes more powerful, we need to make sure it's not used for surveillance or control, and ensure the benefits are shared fairly, not just for a select few.
Sounds like we have a lot of work ahead. But I'm also feeling a sense of excitement. It's like we're at a crossroads in history, and the choices we make now will shape the world for generations to come.
That's a powerful way to put it. And it reminds us that we all have a role to play in shaping this future. This isn't something happening to us. It's something we're all shaping.
Well said. It's a lot to think about, but I think we've laid a good foundation for understanding what's happening in this fourth industrial revolution. Before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to bring all of this back to you, the listener. We've talked about GPTs, revolutions, the convergence of AI, robotics, biotech. It can seem abstract, but it's important to remember these advances will have a huge impact on your life, your work, the world around you.
That's right. We're not talking about some distant future. These changes are happening right now and getting faster. The question is, how will you respond? Will you sit back and watch? Or will you get involved and help shape the future you want?
It really makes you think, doesn't it? We've gone from the very beginnings of agriculture to the mind-blowing potential of this fourth industrial revolution, all to understand these powerful forces changing our world.
Yeah, and it's clear, we're at this crucial point. The decisions we make, both as individuals and as a society, they'll determine where this whole revolution goes and how it affects our world.
Okay, so let's bring it all home. What's the most important thing you want our listeners to take away from this?
Well, the future isn't set in stone. It's a path we create with every choice we make. This fourth industrial revolution gives us all these incredible tools and possibilities. But there are potential dangers too. If we stay curious, think critically, and adapt, we can use these technologies to create a future that's good for everyone.
I like that, a toolbox full of possibilities. It really highlights that we have choices, that we're not just along for the ride with all this tech stuff.
Right, exactly. And those choices, they start with understanding what's going on, having these conversations, and deciding what kind of world we want to build.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into industrial revolutions and what comes next, I want to leave you with something to think about. We've seen how GPTs have driven progress, from the printing press to the internet, things that change everything. With technology moving so fast today, what GPTs might be just around the corner? What could emerge in the next decade that we haven't even thought of yet?
That's what's so exciting, isn't it? The future's full of surprises. We might see breakthroughs in quantum computing, synthetic biology, maybe even space-based technologies that totally change how we live, work, and interact with the world. The key is to keep that sense of wonder, never stop learning, and be open to what's possible.
Well said. This has been a truly enlightening conversation. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the forces shaping our future.
It's been my pleasure. And to everyone listening, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep shaping that future.